presenter, Sarah Mui with One Bite Design. So Sarah is the co-founder and design director of One Bite Design Studio and One Bite Social. She received a bachelor's degree of architecture studies from CUHK, from the Chinese University of Hong Kong, and then a master of architecture from University of College London in the UK. Being a catalytic architect, she brings collaborative creations that are grounded in human design thinking to connect the people to space in their community and strengthen the social fabric. She focuses on public space, social design, and cross-disciplinary creative strategies. So leading the first B Corp in Hong Kong from the architecture industry. She and her team at One Bite bridges the commercial and public sector with the community through their creative idea. So for those of you who are in Hong Kong, you probably have read about like some of these projects, such as the Kai Play Space in Kowloon Bay to the latest intergeneration play space in Tuen Mun, Shui Heng Kok. One Bite has been leading in innovative public space design in the city. And then the latest project in Ming Tak Estate in Cheung Kwan O is the first woman Hardy sports ground. On the other hand, during the COVID, the team has also rolled out 2 initiatives with other community groups to promote good food with dignity, which has served over 2,000 meals and to produce e-commerce holder with social benefits and sold over 5,000 pieces. So with that, I'm going to present to you the lecture titled Co-Creating Agility for a Resilient City, and the floor is to Sarah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Melody, and thank you, Francesco, for inviting me here. I was so amazed by what Doreen and Jason have shared. And so I hope I could remember what I have planned to share today. Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay. Can everybody see it? Okay, great. So I'm very happy to be here today because when I was thinking about this making places, I was looking at what we have been doing maybe this year, especially during the COVID, and I start to build up this idea of how can we, through practice, to co-create agility for a resilient city. Of course, for resilience, there are many meanings. So I'm more focusing on how we could build social and environmental resilience for our daily projects. Okay, so but before, because I guess One Bite is a very young and small office, so I need to introduce to you one of our visions. Because we do not only have architects, we have different types of backgrounds in an office, including community manager, journalist, and also researcher. So basically the whole office focuses on 4 things. We want to make conversation, we want to connect people so that we could make places. So we always think how we could ensure collaborations can happen in different types of projects, not only with clients, but also with other parties, other organizations, and definitely with the people or the end users. And so I think as Melody said, I think we're luckily involved in some of the public space project in Hong Kong, though a lot of them are rooftop spaces. Because if you don't know Hong Kong too well, I think we have a lot of unused rooftops or degenerated rooftops. And so, and a lot of these public spaces were actually in old housing estates. So, so luckily, I think we have done around 5 of these projects where we try to revamp or regenerate the community through upgrading these play spaces. And apart from that, we have been doing quite a lot of engagement and workshops. So through these co-creation workshops, we actually force ourselves to make new conversations with the end users. So from kindergarten kids to elderly, to families, to wheelchair users. I think that actually helps us to ground our relevance in our context. So I have picked kind of 3 projects that I would like to share today, and I'll try to keep it within this 10 minutes or 15 minutes time. And this project reflects these 2 things: is how we believe curation of ideas or creation of programs can help us to strengthen the placemaking, and how we can use design, or from more urban design point of view, can enhance this notion of placemaking in Hong Kong. So the third thing is a current trial. So this is a new project, and I think it's the first time that I share about this project. And I call it the Steps to Build Resilience. And it's a project funded by a developer. So the developer came to us telling us that, hey, I'm going to have a new development in Sampokong. So Sampokong is an industrial area, a more old community in Kowloon, near the Kowloon city. And so this developer has an idea that he doesn't just want to put a new building there, but he wants to raise people's awareness in sustainability, urban development, how we can reach the UN SDG. So they have been working with Hong Kong U and see how they could do a sort of a longer program of research, public engagement. So they came to us and say, anything that you could think about, because our idea is want people to realize nature, because nature is always around us, but we just don't notice. We don't always talk about that. So what can we do? So we actually went to Sampokong, and then I wasn't familiar with this place before because I used to live on the Hong Kong Island side. And in Sampokong, there were a lot of like on the left-hand side is industrial buildings, while on the right-hand side, they have a lot of mid-rise residential blocks where they will have these ground floor shops. All small shops there, a lot of local shops. And so we think, oh, but in fact, in this area, Sampokong has a lot of parks. They used to have a lot of trees, but it's not significant in daily life. So what can we do to raise people's awareness in that? So we came up with an idea called the Community Plant Library. So the original vision of this Community Plant Library is that we could rent a space, and then we will keep all the plants here. So why we will have a library, a government library or public library in each district, but we don't have a plant library in my district. So how about we just rent a shop, do this type of things, people can come and go and then rent their plants. Because sometimes people, I think similar to how we adopt a pet, some people just love it for 1 month and then they want to change it. So that's not a good habit. But we try to think, can we bridge a few stakeholders in the community to build this community plant library together? For example, like the first thing that we did is called Call for Plants. We think this plant library shouldn't be a place that we buy plants, but we actually collect the excessive plants or the dying plants for other people so that we can rescue, and then through the rescue and then or healing of the plants, we actually start new community conversations with these people. But of course, because of the COVID, the plan, there's an incident here too, is that we cannot rent a shop because it's so not guaranteed that people could come to a shop. So we have to change our ideas. Okay, so we can't have shops. How can we attract the community's attention in this area? So we think of 3 things. So in this plant library, we are going to talk to local shops and hope they could adapt their space by our furniture. So we will do these plants and fit it into different local shops and making a local network of plant library or plant outlets. And then secondly, we planned a plant therapy. We want to call it a plant clinic, but we thought this clinic was a little bit uncertain that they could really help the plants. So we called it a plant therapy. So that people, if they have questions, they have queries about plants, they can come in and talk to us. And lastly, we want to set up events and then so that we can inspire or gather the crowd together. And so what we have designed were actually a very tiny bits of furniture. So we went to Sampokong, start talking to different shops, asked them if they would be willing to adopt a plant. And so if they want to adopt, what types of function they would need, and then we start to design this furniture piece for them. So it was very funny that some of the shops, a lot of shops say yes as first place because they don't have to pay. However, they will start asking questions, say, okay, so who are going to help us to take care of the plants? Will that be very difficult to maintain? Will it occupy a lot of spaces? And so they were quite hesitant in the beginning. And these are the shops that have been adopting our plants since April. I think it started in April, so last month. But then at the same time, people start asking, giving us their plants. It was a surprise that we didn't, this is a new social media page, a new group, something new. But people, when they know that someone wants to call for plants, they keep sending us messages, emails, and asking, oh, these are the types of plants that we have. Do you want them? How many you want? And can you really take care of them? So we started to generate new conversations with existing plant keepers. And then, and then we built the furniture. So we talk to the shops, and then we get the plans, and then we need to design furniture. Because we work with the developer with the construction site. So in fact, we got all this timber from the construction sites. And then we work with local crafters to make new design out of it. And we, of course, we want to make some pretty things so that people will feel more chill, more relaxed when they look at these plants. So it's a combination of local shops, local plant keepers, and then local crafts. And when we install these local plants, people, all the shopkeepers, most of the shopkeepers were so excited because they didn't expect it's going to be a pretty stand. And then a lot of their friends, when they go to the shop, they start asking them, oh, so what is this? Where did you get this? Can I get one as well? So it's, I think it makes them feel empowered and a little bit happy about having this plants or being in this program. So we have, so since we installed the plants in their different shops, we start to be closer friends with these shopkeepers. But still, it's a very small pot plants. And so this is one of our shopkeepers. So I think they have very good Thai barbecue pots. So if you're going to Sampo Gong, please visit her. And so she actually kept two, but sadly, one of them got bite by the mice. So so we need to change the plants again. But on the other hand, for this one is another shops, and they actually ask for smaller things that they could sit, because a lot of times these local shops, they put furnitures outside their shops when they open, so that all the guy folk or the neighbors, they can come over and sit on it. And then next, the plant therapy. Because we didn't have a shop anymore, so we changed the plant therapy to a mobile plant library. So we rented a van, and they have all the stickers on it, and then we went to 3 spots in Sampo Gong every 2 weeks. So tomorrow is our fourth visit already. And it was surprisingly how popular these events went. So we stayed a whole afternoon in Sampo Gong, and then I think over 30 people adopted the plants each time. But they have rules because we call adoptions, so it's not about free plants. They had to talk to our plant therapist on this side of the photo. We call him Benny. And then he will give a briefing and begin the class, a lecture, and then some guidance about how they could keep the plants alive. And this girl in the middle was the one that I served as a plant librarian. And then she was so interested about the plants, but then she was scared because she had never got this experience about adopting plants. So she actually talked to Benny for over half an hour. And so that she feel confident enough to get the plants home. So I hope the plant is still healthy, because we keep encouraging her. You should come back to us and tell us how the plant looks like now. So I think for the first time, people were skeptical. Who are you? Why were you here? But then the second time, some people came back because they have adopted plants or they saw us 2 weeks ago. So we start to have recurring friends that came to us and start different chats. And surprisingly, a lot of time when we did events or community engagement on street, usually women were the majority. But in this case, a lot of men stopped. A lot of uncles, they stopped by, they didn't adopt plants, but they just scroll over their phone and tell us their plants. So I think normally when we have gathering, people just show the photos of babies, dogs, cats. But this time, like in that 3 hours that I was on duty, people were telling me about all the different mango trees or papaya trees and all the different things I have at home. I think that was a very amazing discovery for us, is that a lot of people love plants. It has always been an informal or an invisible practice, and now it's not. So we started to have this discussion or conversation with very old lady who is I say she was an expert in planting, so she has a lot of plants at home. But then on the other hand, for the shopkeeper, they start to have something new or a new memory with their grandchildren. And then, of course, because we try to connect this local network, we also talk to a cafe in Sampokong to put up this community plant map so that we start to encourage local visits, local tourism in the area. And this is not an architectural project, but to me, it's a very urbanist approach in understanding how we can use social media to promote this type of plant adoption, new plant behavior, and even I love these two messages because people start sending us message or sending us photos about their dying plants. Oh, can this plant be cute? Can I bring this plant to the plant therapist? For example, some people were actually living in Mui, which is quite far in Hong Kong, and like on the west side of Hong Kong, slightly closer than Dong that Jason has just mentioned, but still quite far. And then they actually bring their plant to Sampokong to talk to Benny and try to help their plants. So I think it tells us this type of invisible passion within the community, and I really enjoyed this discovery. So I think the whole project, actually, we're trying to find a balance between this informality and formality on streets. And we started to document all these anonymous plants on street. And we want to do a more complete story when this plant library can roll out longer. So I think this is the latest or the most passionate story that I have lately. Yeah, but on the other hand, why we have this plant library or why the developer came to us because of another project that we did before. And it was before COVID, so no mask, and we have shops and physical space. So it was a project that we called Project House. And I think Francesco saw this project before, is that we actually talked to shopkeeper or the shop owner and then to rent their vacant shops for 3 to 4 weeks to manage or to collaborate a more long-term or daily community festival. So we started in Samsorbo and then we went to Wan Chai and also Aberdeen, so different districts, because we want to collect the different behaviors of users in this district. So every time we treat it like a research project that we will do analysis, evaluation. For example, Wan Chai people love books, while Aberdeen people doesn't love reading. And then we try to map out these community needs in all different districts. But at the same time, we look at a more economical or the retail value of vacant shops. Where can we have dividing into shop front, shop back, where some things with more profit generating power, and then we will use it for community business, but then the rest we could do community events. So we started to generate this type of spatial idea. But in COVID, no shops available again, or no one wants to have physical space. So, so we turned Project House from a physical space into an online platform. And this time we try to connect different parties as well, because I think our team always interested in this, I would say, underutilized resource. And one underutilized resource is the food factory. So this food factory normally, without COVID, they would be supplying lunch boxes, food meals to factories, companies, schools. But in COVID, they have no business. No one wants to go out. A lot of people get jobless or jobless. So we do a crowdfunding project that we worked with all these parties using a normal system so that people, they could sign up, register, and then order affordable and good food for only $15 Hong Kong, like 15 Hong Kong dollars, because the meal was actually subsidized by the crowdfunding pool. So we wanted to query how community or safety network in the community could be co-created so that we do not rely on the very long procedure or government funding approval, and we can react and be agile in facing different this type of pandemic or situation, urgency of the community. So I think we did it for about 6 months, and we worked with other parties as well, because of course I'm not good at cooking, and so I don't know nothing about food industry. So we need different collaborators to work with us. And I think luckily we have served over 300 members. It's just a very tiny amount, but but at least I think we try to react and see how this relates to another urban issue in the community. And the last thing that I want to talk is about how we can build empowerment, because I guess when everyone here, when you start talking to public, you realize they have no knowledge about that. They're not confident about their own knowledge. They're not confident about their own experience of this place, because they thought place, urban design is only by professionals. So they are only the end users. So 2 years ago, we started this platform called Guts. It's a Facebook platform. And we started to document and publish the different case studies that we kept in our cabinets for different projects. We think, hey, people they didn't know what other people have done. That's why they have no ideas. So what if we started to publish these ideas? So we keep telling people about all the different, we say, guts data, and then gut story from overseas, from Hong Kong, and have different interviews. I think we have interviewed Jason as well. So all these people with guts, they have the power to make changes in the community or in the society. But we focus in public space, urban regeneration, so something that normal people will feel a little bit difficult or professional. And one thing that we started, I hope I could play this. So this is the last video that I want to show is, Cat Street is where our office is. And it was heavily affected by the COVID. So no tourists came, no one buy things, all the stores had poor business in these 2 years. So I think around 6 months ago, we started to have this idea. How can we use Guts to think about this co-creation again? Can we make a game that bring people in when we cannot have physical place in the game? So it's going to be a game, an idea of game. And we hope that we could use crowdfunding to realize it next year. So it's about the street, but it's about how you choose your character too. And we interviewed the people, the real shop owners in Cat Street. And we also want to work with schools so that different components, different items, they can be made or can be done by local schools. So this is a very preliminary idea that we did, but we hope this is like a step-by-step, a trilogy of what we are testing to very slowly and say, okay, we are having pandemic, we cannot meet physical. So how about we push more on the hybrid mode of placemaking, or what are the possibilities of that? Yeah, so I think to me, I think agility is more about this transformative things, about catalytic. I think similar to what Jason and Doreen have mentioned, it's the power of scaling up. It's something that we could set up as a framework so that it can scale up, it could affect others or impact changes. And of course, people-led is something that all these projects have been embedded in. Yes, I think that's what I would like to share today. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you very much. It's a very exciting project, and I think there's a lot of this idea of game of how we actually work around in the city in multiple scale, multiple ways. I'm very much looking forward to the discussion.